Hello, lovely friend. I am Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
And this is the Real Health and Weight Loss Podcast. Hello, lovely listeners. Dr. Mary here, joined by my gorgeous colleague, Dr. Lucy, looking lovely in your green there. Just bring out the blue in your eyes. Beautiful girl. I just love to pump up your tyres and you pump up my tyres. It's really nice. So just a bit of time. Totally. I love the gut. I get quite excited about gut health, having had my own little gut health journey, but also just seeing the beautiful changes that people can have with simple things. Gut health is a $1 billion industry, and there are a lot of people who will sell you a lot of expensive tests, will sell you a lot of expensive supplements, expensive devices, expensive programs, all aimed at getting your gut better, and can really overcomplicate things, I think. And I'm certainly not saying that supplements and tests don't have a place. I'm not saying that at all. But often, if you just start simple, you can get everything you need. It's simple, cheap and simple is really easy. And in fact, that's where you need to start. And I would only move to expensive tests and supplements and things if you weren't getting anywhere. Simple changes can make an enormous difference to your gut health. And when your gut is happy, you've got good gut health, it allows everything else to be good as well. You can feel. What is your gut? Mm. 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 Very complicated tubes. And the inside of our gut is technically still outside our body. Medically and technically, yes. Mm. Very true. Mm. Yeah, I think about the functions, so the digestion and absorption. So the gut has a job. It's got to keep the things out that we need to keep out and let the things in that we need to let in. So it has to be a very clever, selective barrier. And when that barrier breaks down a little bit, it can't be as selective as it needs to be. This is a situation called intestinal permeability, and that can set you up for illnesses, particularly autoimmune illnesses. It also houses our gut bacteria, and our gut, well, not just bacteria. There's bacteria, the main players, but there's also viruses and fungi and other things. Our gut microbiome. And we interact with our gut microbiome in fascinating and complicated ways. And having a healthy and diverse gut microbiome is really important for our health. And like our microbes like literally communicate with our brain, without us really being consciously aware of it. It's crazy. But yes, that's really important. The gut has an enormous role to play in our immune system. So how we fight off infections and how our body responds to threats, the gut is intricately involved in that. And also it's basically like our second brain as well. We've got an enormous number of our gut nervous system is really, really complicated and diverse, and has an enormous role to play in how our body works as well. So, you've got all of these things going on with this highly complicated tube, and having it healthy is really, really important. And unfortunately, like so many things in our modern society modern lifestyle, can make our gut less healthy than it should be. Chronic stress, sleep deprivation, processed diet, poor sleep. All of these things literally impact the health and function of our gut microbiome, our gut immune system, our gut nervous system, to the detriment of our health. Hippocrates said, all health starts in the gut, and he was right 2,000 years ago. It's still true today. So impress upon you that it's complicated and important. However, complicated and important doesn't necessarily mean that, having a healthy gut is out of reach without the world's most fanciest, fandangled, latest whatevers. Definitely not. And in fact, some of the, the latest and greatest fandangled whatevers are actually probably not very good for you at all. Some of them are, full of sugar and all kinds of things. So that's the gut. That's what it is. That's why it's important. And how do we look after it?
Oh, let me guess. Well, of course, like everything, it's about giving the body and the gut what it needs and removing the things that are harmful for it. So, we love the phrases helpful and unhelpful. So, what's helpful for our gut and our body? And again, it's not rocket science, but we do know a variety of nutritious, so nutrient dense food in the right balance. Again, if it's not in balance for you, then you'll get, gut things. And again, this is where people go, but my mum's sister, she has lentils every day and she doesn't have any gut pain. Okay, that's her. But if I had lentils every day, I would be having lots of, not just gut pain, but I would be farting my little head off. And that nobody wants to be part of.
No, that's not great for your quality of life, or indeed for the quality of life of those around you, I suppose.
And really, and look, if we want to get into the nitty gritty of what is a fart, it is just, it's gas that's been produced by our bowel. That's all it is. And so when your bowel is producing too much gas, you'll have a lot more farting. When it's producing not much, you'll just have the right amount. And a right amount is normal.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
Just right, Goldilocks. Absolutely. Yeah. So I think that if you've got issues with your gut, apart from, getting checked out by a doctor, as could be a sensible first step, but once anything dangerous has been excluded, then have just an honest look at your life, an honest look at your lifestyle, and ask yourself honestly and without judgment, just be a curious, compassionate self-scientist. What are you eating? What are you putting into your gut? And, in particular, processed foods are quite harmful to our gut. Our gut isn't designed to deal with them. And then, there are certainly foods that are more inflammatory, like grains and legumes. Just have a think and be honest with yourself. Also, think about your levels of stress. So, your psychological stress and how you manage it. Stress is also really damaging to our gut. It sets up all of these biochemical and hormonal changes that quite literally impair our gut microbiome, impair our intestinal permeability, and can set us up for increased sensitization and pain in our gut. All of these flow on things. Stress is not is not innocuous. It's actually quite toxic to us. So be honest and just have a little look at that. And honest, sometimes taking stock of these things can seem harder than taking a supplement, can seem harder than, getting an expensive stool test. But honestly, I think this is where we need to start and think about what can you remove? What are the harmful foods or potentially harmful foods in your life or drinks that you can remove? Alcohol as well increases intestinal permeability. Alcohol is toxic to our gut. That's not to say that you can't have it, but if you're having it regularly and you've got gut issues, then it might be something that you need to have an honest look at. Your foods,
Yeah.
the stress.
So interesting. The thing that's been popping up for, I don't know why, in my Facebook feed is this product that I just think it's Donut King flavored twisties. Ugh. So I look, what are the ingredients? There's some sort of wheat protein, a rice and corn, canola oil, and then about 62 flavorings. So it's like, there's no way we're supposed to eat that stuff. And,
No.
again, the thing, and I can get on my little ranty McRanty phase here, is that the reason, that product is marketed to children. It comes in a bright Barbie pink packet. You can imagine, I'm imagining your daughter, she's 10, she'd be looking at that. It looks exciting. There's a donut on the front. It's marketed to children. It is a toxic.
Oh, Barbie's so big
Yeah.
right now. Barbie everything. Yeah, I don't have any great problems with Barbie as such. I don't. I have a few problems with Barbie, but not many. But yes, but Barbie being used to sell processed foods to children,
Yeah,
massive.
it is.
Massive
It's a
problem.
toxic goop.
Right.
So, again, before people go and buy a probiotic or invest in dichotomous earth or anything like that, it's really do an audit of what you're eating and just think, is there stuff in here that is likely to be contributing? Because if you can get rid of that first, well, you save yourself a whole lot of money and you can do something, that's then sustainable. I think one of the other things that is, apart from the obvious processed food, is some of the sweeteners that are used, and particularly, people that are taking or have type 2 diabetes and are using things that are alternate sweeteners, or people that are on a low carb lifestyle. Because again, we've done lots of podcasts, I think, on sweeteners, but we have what we call the least worst and the worst.
Yeah, the worst and the least worst,
Yeah.
for sure. Yes.
And the worst are really nasty on your gut. So, Maz, here's something that people may not know, and that is that sugar has a direct effect on the gut. I thought we'd like to chat a bit about that.
So, sugar, particularly the sugar that we get in processed or refined foods, can upset our balance of our gut microbiome. It's one thing that it does. It can feed our gut microbiome in such a way that unhelpful populations and types of bacteria can become more prevalent, and the more helpful ones, the ones that we want to nurture and love, can become less prevalent. So it can actually cause gut dysbiosis. Bacteria need energy just like anything else, and different bacteria like to utilize different types of foods, and the food that we feed our gut literally changes it. And too much sugar causes gut dysbiosis.
Absolutely. And there's a particular little species of gut, or a phylum. I don't even know what the right word is for bacteria, but there's one called Firmicutes. And the reason I love Firmicutes is because it's not firm and it's not cute. And what this bacteria does is it does two things. So it's associated with obesity. So they've done studies and looked at the microbiome of people, all sorts of people. And there is no doubt that people who have higher body weight have higher Firmicutes. Now, is this cause or association? We don't know exactly. But interestingly, there were studies that were done where they took the microbiome of people with obesity and put it into the microbiome of lean people, and they developed obesity. Unfortunately, it didn't work the other way, where you take the microbiome of a lean person and put it into a person with obesity, and it fixes it. So there's obviously more to it than just like everything. It's not as simple as it sounds.
But it's compelling. It's really, really compelling information about how important your gut microbiome is. And a diet high in sugars can cause that gut dysbiosis. And that gut dysbiosis, if you've got more of the unhelpful pathogenic type bacteria, and you lose the beneficial effect of your good, more helpful bacteria, you actually lose the integrity of the barrier. The beneficial bacteria have an important role to play in that all-important barrier. Remember that selective barrier that our gut needs? And so when you've got that intestinal permeability, that really starts to cause inflammation around the gut, which can then snowball into all kinds of problems.
Absolutely. And the other pesky thing that these firmicutes can do is, and you talked about it earlier, Maz, is that, our gut bacteria are neurotransmitters. And that's just a fancy way of saying they connect to the nerves, which connect to the brain. So the gut and the brain, we know the gut talks to the brain. So firmicutes are clever little things, and they can send neurotransmitters to the brain to increase sugar cravings. Again, they're smart. If you're a species and there's food that you like, you want the host to get that food for you. Well, newsflash, peeps, you're the host, and
We are the
you are
host.
hosting
Yeah.
a whole lot of sugar craving bacteria. Now, this is where the tricky bit is. The more you feed it, the bigger they grow. When you stop feeding it sugar, they initially yell out, enter stage left.
They have a little bacterial tantrum.
Yeah, and this is cravings. So cravings come along, and you as the host go, oh my God, I've got such a craving. And have you ever felt like sometimes that it's not you? Oh well, it might not be. It could be these little critters. So the way to fix these is actually just to starve them to death. So
Yes.
it doesn't take long, but if you don't give them their preferred food source, which is sugar, so cane sugar, so sugar, glucose and fructose, that combo, if you don't give them their food source, they die away. Starve them out and they die away. And then what? They can't talk to your brain. So the cravings are less.
It is a significant cause of cravings, which I think most people aren't aware of, that our gut bacteria can influence our cravings. It's not the only cause, but it is an important one. And I reckon it is a really important reason why those annoying cravings go away. And when you start nourishing your body with all this delicious real food, a nice variety of real food that is not high in refined sugar, then all of these helpful species of bacteria and these groups of bacteria start to grow, and you get to have a lovely, healthy, like nice and diverse inner garden, rather than being completely taken over by just couch grass or just one type of weed.
Mint.
You can have lots of mint. Yes,
I always
mint
think
would
about
be
it. It's
that.
like the firmicutes are like the mint of the herb garden.
I wouldn't even be that nice to firmicutes. Let's call them the couch grass.
Yeah.
They're the couch grass.
I know.
The herb garden.
And honestly, you've got some species of bacteria in there that are sort of like the coriander. They're very fragile. They're very finicky. They need a lot of nurturing. Otherwise, they just go straight to seed.
Yes, that's right. It's got to be nice to them.
Yeah.
Yes. These bacteria do all kinds of things for us, including creating really important vitamins that we literally use to help keep ourselves healthy. They are very, very much a part of us, interacting with us in kind of sometimes perhaps even slightly frightening ways. But if we feed them real food, then they behave in the way that they're kind of meant to, the way this symbiotic relationship was designed to be.
Exactly. One of the things that's really interesting though, and again, if you're going, rightio, well, sugar's obviously not helpful. It's going to feed the firmicutes. It's going to make my sugar cravings come crazy. Let's get rid of sugar. So let's enter artificial sugars or alternate sugars or artificial sweetener or whatever we want to call it. We like to talk about, and we do this in our beautiful 4-week body rebalance.
We do.
We talk about all the sweeteners because there are most definitely least worst and worst.
There are so many sweeteners out there. There's artificial sweeteners have been around for a long time, and some of them are actually really no better than sugar. Some of them actually have exactly the same effect on your body as sugar. Some of them are actually, even if they don't have the same effect as sugar, they can be quite toxic to our poor little gut and to our gut bacteria. And we want to avoid those, especially saccharin and sucralose, which are really quite commonly used artificial sweeteners, particularly in processed low carb, low sugar diet processed foods. They're really quite common, and they can really cause quite significant shifts in our gut microbiome, which I think is really quite concerning. But it's certainly not all bad news. You can enjoy sweeteners if you want to on a real food diet, provided you pick the least worst ones. And this is something we do, talk a lot about in our beautiful 4-week program.
Yeah, the least worst, and also just not buckets of it. Like everything, we're big on, balance. Like if you eat sweeteners every day, you'll find that, you probably do get some gut pain with them. Even the least worst can, if overconsumed, cause some issues with your gut. There's lots of sneaky things. We also in the 4-week program do a masterclass on reading nutritional panels, because part of the sneaky things, again, is greenwashing or health washing of foods, where, they'll have fiber, added source of fiber, and then you find out the fiber is polydextrose, which is just a man-made fiber that can, again, ferment in the gut and cause irritable bowel. And isn't that what we've all been wanting to get rid of? So eating something that is, again, sounds good but isn't necessarily good. We are fiber fans, but the fiber coming from particularly vegetables, God, that's good fiber. Such good fiber.
Yeah. Some lovely, delicious veggies, a little bit of salt, a little bit of butter. Amazing. Yeah. That's what we want to be feeding our gut. Yeah.
Absolutely. Lovely Mares, we probably need to wind it up a bit because we've been rambling on a bit now, but
we do.
I think the summary is there's no quick fix for lots of this. Okay, it's a bit like a garden. It needs some tending, needs some nurturing, needs a bit of fertilizer, not too much, needs water, needs a bit of sunshine. It just needs a lot of things, but just a bit of it all. Like, again, you think about the garden. If it's in blazing sun all the time, it just dies. If you overwater the garden, it dies. If you underwater the garden, it just needs to be in balance. Not too much of anything, but lots of different things.
Yes. And honestly, you can make an enormous difference to your beautiful gut quite quickly with simple things. And you won't know unless you try. So, give it a go and do an audit. Try eating real food. Try cutting out the processed food. Give it a go. 4 weeks, you will probably feel so much better.
Absolutely, lovelies. And if you want some help with it, you can go to allthewsrlmedicine.com/gut. Bye for now. The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualized medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. Please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.